We're ready?
Sure.
Yep.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Kneeckoh, and welcome back to another video. We are going to talk about all the spoilers in The Last of Us. I have my buddy Caleb here,
Hey yo.
and I have my buddy Rice here.
Oh,
And we all beat the game. We're all obsessed with this game. Like, we've all been texting nonstop since we started playing the game, and then after we beat the game, we just kept texting. So we thought that this was the best route to kind of get everything out there without having to continue texting, really. That was just the only problem.
Right. Like, the thing I can say right now about the game, whether you love it or hate it, you can't deny that this is probably one of the most talked about games in a while.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
It's just exactly, whether you love it or you hate it, you can sit down and talk about this game for hours and just dissect it bit by bit, talk about the different meanings and interpretations that people had from it.
It's a very polarizing game, and people feel very strongly about whatever side they're on.
Yeah, like, the first game got put down as, like, probably one of the greatest, like, PlayStation exclusives of all time, and I feel like this one will either take that spot or just be right beneath it.
So, I want to ask, before we get into it, how do you guys feel about the game spoiler-free?
Spoiler-free. So, spoiler-free to me would be, like, just purely from gameplay perspective, I loved it. Like, as soon as I started getting to, like, some of those more levels of, like, the stealth and the combat, it reminded me, like, of all the reasons why I loved the first one, because it felt the same, but at the same time better.
Gameplay-wise, as Caleb said, it is just the first game, and then better by a couple levels. Like, there are so many just better mechanics and added mechanics that make the game not easier to play, but it feels better to play.
Oh yeah, it makes it more smooth, less clunky. Like,
Yeah.
I think of like the dodge mechanic. That's huge.
Yeah.
Oh,
great-
yeah.
great
Going
mechanic.
prone is huge.
I
love-
didn't utilize that a ton.
Really, I was
I
prone
actually-
all the time.
I was using that quite, like, mainly whenever I was in, like, tall bushes of grass, I was crawling
Yeah,
around
yeah.
much.
I didn't use it a whole bunch.
Especially
For no
with
particular reason. I
especially
just
with the
didn't.
dogs around. I stay
Oh my
stay
God.
low with the
Oh,
dogs.
God, the
I'm
dogs
sure we'll
seem
get
like...
into the dogs, but God, I hate those things.
Oh, my...
For me,
At first...
for me, I just felt the game was uncomfortable the whole way through. There were situations where I just
Yeah.
didn't want to keep playing. Like, I needed. There were so many times I actually needed to take a break from playing this
Oh,
game.
no, I legit... There were so many times where, like, I'd be at the beginning of, like, a new level or encounter, and I just had to stop to, like, give myself a breather. Typically...
I had a lot of like sighs of relief when I finally like got past the point.
Yeah. And I think that's just good gameplay, honestly. Part of that
Yeah.
is because there were so many situations, like, especially at the start of the game, where you don't have that many weapons to choose from, where I hopped the fence as soon as I got into Seattle, and there was a couple runners, and I got noticed, and then these two clickers were coming at you, and as soon as the clickers grab you, they just bite you. So I was just panicking, switching from gun to gun, trying to light the clickers
Yeah.
up before they got to me.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to just stop and just big sigh of relief, like, how the fuck
Yeah.
did I just make it through that?
Yeah.
One thing I also like is with this, like, bigger encounters a bit, how you don't have to, like, stealth your way all the way through. There's, like, several different ways you can go about it. You can either just sneak past all the enemies and proceed, kill them all stealthily, go guns a-blazing, or one of my favorites is
Run
start
right
stealth-
past them, because I did that a couple times.
did
Where I was
that
just
too.
like, no, I'm going past it. I'm gonna figure out where I'm going, and I'm gonna get there.
My typical route was the untouched one of start out stealthy, fuck up, start shooting everyone.
See,
Mine would normally start out stealthy, divulge into just running straight ahead and getting out of there.
See,
Yeah,
I
so
always got into every fight. Like, I never tried to avoid confrontation, because in my first playthrough, I went in with the mindset that I really wanted to platinum this game. So I wanted to get as many collectibles as I could the first time through, so that way I wouldn't have as much to do the second time around. So I would literally wipe out whole levels of enemies just to search everything to make sure I had all the collectibles. And I still missed a ton, which is a different beast entirely.
Yeah, I know I missed a shit ton because, like, one, that safe cracking thing you told me about, I didn't find that out, so I missed a couple.
Yeah.
And then also I started watching someone else's playthrough and seeing, like, they're finding stuff that I completely missed. I was like, oh
Yeah.
shit, yeah,
Mhm.
I missed a lot.
As
Yeah.
far as I know, there was only one safe I couldn't find, which I found the combination to it, but I never found the actual safe itself.
It's
But
like
other than that, I found all of them, I think.
it's like so tricky because there's like little nooks and crannies that you can't think you go into, but you can.
Yes, exactly.
I loved that about this game because I felt the first game was super linear and I was just kind of expecting the same thing going into this one. But like there was so much extra stuff on the side as you were just progressing through each level that was just there. Like the whole take on me part with the guitar, that was
Yeah.
totally not part of the story. That was just something you could find.
Exactly. Like I was noticing that a lot. Like even from some of the somewhat linear sections, like in the beginning with Abby, like I was noticing how like it seemed like there was multiple paths I could go, but in the hindsight, there was actually just one path you go, which I think that does so good for like the level building.
It at least felt significantly more open world, which is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they did it perfect where there was just enough bonus stuff that it didn't like you didn't feel overwhelmed like you were going to miss out on a whole lot if you didn't do everything, but then
Yeah.
it kept you right on the path. And I personally never got lost. I don't know about you guys, but it was some wizard magic that they did in this game where I never got lost. I'd constantly go to different buildings and then all of a sudden I'd walk out and I'd be like, I guess this is the right direction, and sure enough it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that. The only time I felt even remotely lost, there were a couple times when I first got to Seattle and you're in that exploring everything and trying to find stuff, I felt a little bit lost.
I think
But that
maybe
map,
the one
you had that
time
map.
I think maybe there was one instance and it was in the sewer, and it was just because I thought I had to swim to find my way out. So I spent so much time just goofing around in the water when actually you had to climb up and over everything.
Yeah.
The only time I ever got like stuck in some sections where it was like, you know, a slight like puzzle, like figure out how to get from point A from point B. Just because some of it wasn't like completely obvious, but sometimes stupid and overlooked stuff. So that could just be me.
So, how do we feel about Joel's death?
R.I.P. bro.
all right, get into the big stuff.
That shit was brutal.
It was. So here's my take. I feel like if you didn't know, like without the spoilers leaking before the game even came out, if you didn't know Joel was gonna die after what happened in the first game, then that's on you. Because I knew after the way the first game ended and then all the trailers came out for the second one, I'm just like, yeah, Joel's gonna die. I just didn't expect it to be that brutal and that quick.
Okay, I'll say as someone, I didn't play the first game until a week. I think I finished the first game the day part 2 came out. And I didn't watch any of the trailers for part 2, was the other thing. And I didn't even know the leaked spoilers thing was a thing. And so I told Kneeckoh, because I was texting Kneeckoh when I played the first one, when he landed on that spike, I thought that was like, oh, this is it. This is Joel's ending. Because I knew you play as Ellie in part 2, and so I was like, oh, this is it. I just take over as Ellie from the rest of the game. And then he lived, and I was like, holy shit, he's got a chance. And then like I'd seen clips from trailers, and I was like, huh, maybe they just let him live. And then boom, you're an hour into the game, bash his head in. What?
I think they did it so well because they definitely, throughout all the trailers, all the E3 demos and everything, they definitely filmed some extra scenes with Troy Baker and tricked us with some of these trailers. Like the whole scene where Joel is like, I'm not going to let you do this on your own. Like, that's not even in the game. That was Jesse.
I know, it's like...
That threw me for a loop, because I was like, maybe that's going to be a flashback, later in the game. No, it's just Jesse, and it just, the amount of work they went, and did to keep all the spoilers from us was insane.
I know, just because after what happened first game, and then once this game started coming out, I had the hunch, yeah, Joel's gonna face some repercussions for what he did, because what he did was basically one life over the sake of millions.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, there's no way he doesn't face some repercussion for it.
Yeah.
But the way they handled it, that wasn't just the only reason why he died, and there was actually a little more behind it. I actually did kind of like that.
It was like when you're playing as Abby and you get saved by him and Tommy, my heart sank. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I'm just, and like part of me thought like, okay, maybe they'll drag it out a bit to where like, you know, they'll sort of like work their way into the Jackson community, and then at some point, then she takes him out. No, there was no waiting. There was just you know,
They got their
leg that
hands
was
on
about
him, and
yeah, a leg that nearly just like peeled off, and then you know grabbed the iron and is like, you know what, I'm going for bogey.
yeah.
Yeah, that was an intense. Just looking at his leg, like in the close-ups, was intense. And then when Ellie gets in the room and like the emotion goes from "please stop" to "I'm gonna fucking kill you," like that scene was just a lot. Like I had
His
to take a
face was
break
like-
after that.
Like
You
She
cut
wa-
from just getting your ass beat and then you cut, and the next thing you see is his face doesn't look like a face anymore.
it's just a mush.
It's it's red jello.
Yeah, it was.
Plus, like the fact that like she was so distressed over Joel like actually getting killed that when they were like talking and shouting at each other afterwards, she didn't hear any of it. She was just purely focused on the now
Yeah,
mushed
Yeah.
corpse of Joel.
yeah, that was an intense scene, and I think the killing Joel was the best route. And I know a lot of people are pissed that they killed Joel, which is I don't get it. It's just good storytelling, in my opinion. Because from the E3 trailers that we saw, I definitely thought that it was going to be Dina that was killed at the start of the game. And that was what was going to send Ellie on this revenge quest. Because we saw the trailer, and like one of the first trailers we saw was them at the dance where they kissed for the first time.
Yeah, at the end.
Right.
So
And
I
we
was-
just all
From the
assumed,
end.
Yeah,
that'd
so
be at
I
the
was like,
beginning.
somebody's gonna come and they're gonna kill Dina, and that's gonna like set Ellie off on this revenge quest because it was her first love, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And so it being Joel and then Dina ending up going to Seattle with you, that was like mind blowing to me because I didn't see any of the leaks because I guess the like Joel dying got leaked, and
I
then
think the
there
entire
was some.
story apparently got leaked.
I avoided it entirely. I saw nothing
Oh, yeah.
regarding the story for this game.
Yes,
I mean, at the time, I didn't care about these games, so I was like, if I did hear about it, I didn't think anything of it.
plus, like, can I also just like address like all the fucking parallels, like whether they're similarities or exact opposites between Ellie and Abby when you
Oh, yeah.
play between the two?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like, I thought they handled that really like mainly with like Dina and Mel. Like, they both had, you know, that one best friend was pregnant, but it was like both different circumstances behind it.
yeah. So let's just move right into that. What do we think about Abby?
So obviously, after the beginning, I'm pretty sure we can all agree that we were on the beefy
fuck
arms
this bitch.
beefy arms must die.
Yeah.
But then, like after actually playing as her through the story, like sort of understanding her reasoning, and then seeing her sort of grow up until the end, like I was actually like a Abby fan. Like I was almost rooting for her.
It,
And I
it
was
took me a
ju-
while to get there, but like when I was playing through her section, at first I texted Nico. I was like, I don't care about her. I just want her to die.
I remember because
Like-
Colin he literally is like, "Are they really making me play as Abby right now?" He's like,
I'll see if I can-
He's like, I don't care. Why are they making? He's like, because it was during the flashback with the zebra. He was like, I don't care about this chick. Why are they trying to make me learn her story? He's like, I just want to kill her.
You just imagine
Hold
like
on.
going went into
Oh
like
yeah, I texted
and-
Nico. Is it bad that I couldn't give less of a fuck about Abby's story? And I was pretty much at that zebra thing. I was like, I don't care. What I
But-
don't.
like I kind of had the hunch it was gonna happen after the beginning when you're going through those little sections. I was like, are we gonna get to play as this chick? Because it feels like we are.
But by the end of it, I don't know if I like was rooting for her necessarily, but I had come around on her. Like I
Well,
at
like,
least
it-
understand what's going on and I can empathize.
Yeah.
See,
It's
Like she's not just like the worst human being, like stereotypical bad guy of all time.
Right.
when I got into the Abby section, I thought it was another flashback. Like I literally just thought we were gonna play for like an hour, maybe as Abby, and then we were gonna go right back to the theater. But then it just kept dragging on, and I was like, I don't like this. I want to kill Abby. They did such a good job with setting Abby up as the villain at the start of the game with Joel that everybody going into the Abby section of the game was under the mindset that fuck this chick, we don't care. We just want to kill her because she fucked up our man Joel. But then they take you on this whole journey with Yara and Lev, and it. You talk about the parallels between Abby and Ellie's story. Let's talk about the parallels between Joel and Abby. They both go on this whole like redemption thing with the kid. Like Lev is the equivalent to Ellie for Abby, and it's a whole thing seeing them evolve by going on this journey with these kids.
You know, that's a good. I didn't even like realize that till you just now pointed it out. Like that is almost like the exact same thing. They both started out basically only like I guess you couldn't really say like giving a shit about themselves, but like taking in Ellie and then Lev, that's not something they would have done prior. And then they go on this journey for it's like, I'm gonna fucking protect this kid with my life.
Yeah, they have fucked up pasts, and then this kid comes along, and initially it's just kind of they're there, I'm helping them for the time being, but then it becomes a whole like emotional thing where they're like, those are my people. That was in my opinion, that was one of the biggest moments in the game, was when right after Yara gets shot and Lev is like, those were your fucking people. Though you killed my sister, and she goes, you're my people. I was like, oh shit. That's when I 100% switched over to Team Abby. After
plus, I think like Abby's like taking in of Lev is a much bigger deal because like Lev and Yara, they were both scars, and Abby had already spent so much time basically as a trained soldier killing who knows how many of them, and then she ends up doing a complete 180, taking in these two and wanting to protect them and help them.
Yeah, that's a great point, because she was like, because her whole mission was, that's why like after getting through the first section and Caleb texting me and being like, why is Abby so jacked? I thought it was funny at the time, but then when you play through her section, you learn her backstory. Joel killed her father. She's so obsessed that she can't have a life with Owen because she can't let it go. And just understanding that she went to all the trainings, she has worked as hard as she had because she wants to be the killing machine that can take Joel down. And then seeing that, because in the flashbacks, even like when she starts training with Owen, she's not huge. And then you get to like present day where we're playing in Seattle and she's jacked, and you just are like, holy crap. Like, she is on this mission and nothing else matters to her.
Yeah, her muscles really showed in that one particular scene with Owen.
Yeah, they did.
That almost haunts me. I'm just like, I don't know how to feel about this. I'm uncomfortable.
I wasn't ready for that, honestly.
I knew it was coming at some point because I saw a post about it on Reddit on accident.
Yeah, I was not expecting.
The only spoiler I saw. And so I knew it was coming. I just can't say I expected it when it happened.
I wasn't expecting two sex scenes. That's the thing, because we had the first scene with Dina and Ellie, which I thought was hilarious. Like, one of my favorite things is the way Ellie flicks that joint away. That was too funny to me. I was like, that is awesome. She's just going for it, and I love it. That cracked me up. But I wasn't ready for another one way later in the game. I was like, whoa, hold on. We were like killing zombies a second ago, dude. Like,
I know, like, the first one was like all, nice, and it's like, oh, they're finally like, it's like they're in a physical color. Then you get to Abby and Owen, and it's just like, you see big, buffy, meaty Abby bent over. It's just, it was weird.
It was weird how it led up into it.
Yeah, that was the thing for me.
Kill each other.
Like, for me,
like, okay, he's in her now. I don't know.
Like, that was what got me, was they were literally like fighting and like choking each other, and then all of a sudden it just transitioned. I was like, whoa. But
notice it was like as soon as like Owen like grabbed Abby's braided tail, and it's like, oh, that's the starter. Abby's a freak.
But I liked Owen a lot as a character.
See, like I almost was thinking like there were some moments I liked him, and then some moments I was thinking like, Owen, you're a dumbass.
Yeah, I was mostly on Team Owen. You're a dumbass.
I don't know, even from the start of the game when they were like, Manny was trying to kill, and Manny and Danny were trying to kill Ellie. Owen stopped them, and I was completely on his side from the start. Like, his mission was to get revenge on Joel, and that was it. No one else needed to get hurt. And he kind of had that mentality throughout the rest of the game, was he didn't want to be a killer. He didn't want to just kill mercilessly, which is why he ended up getting in trouble with the wolves, because he like saved those scars or whatever and ended up killing Danny in the process. but like he genuinely wanted to be a good person. He just got roped in with the wolves because the Fireflies disbanded after Joel ran through the Salt Lake City hospital.
Yeah, see, like that was one of those months where I did like Owen, where it seemed like he was like, the rational one, saying like, okay, you got your revenge, but we're not taking it any further than this. But then it was just like those aspects when it was just like him and Abby, and then the fact that he got Mel pregnant, but he was still sort of like, wanting to be with Abby. It just seemed like, dude, make a decision.
Yeah, that was one thing throughout the whole game. I was like,
you got feelings for like your ex still, but you already have this other girl knocked up. So it's
yeah,
like,
you're gonna have to pick one here, buddy. You can't have both.
That was my one problem with Owen, was that back and forth between Mel and like he literally felt no responsibility for the child throughout the whole game. Like he was constantly worried about helping Abby and doing Abby's thing when Mel is pregnant with his child, and that whole love triangle thing just was super. I didn't vibe with that a whole lot. Whereas like the situation with Dina, Ellie, and Jesse, like I thought that situation was really funny because like at the start of the game when Jesse's giving Ellie shit right after the kiss, and he's like, I don't care. He's like, but that's kind of fucked up. And it was like a whole joking situation. And then it's very clear that Dina is with Ellie now, and nobody cares. Like Jesse's not mad, and everyone's happy. Like I vibed with a whole lot more.
Yeah, I know. Like, but poor Jesse, man. I'll have that one. Like, I did kind of end up liking Abby after I played with her, but she took out my man Jesse. Come on.
I expected a lot of deaths in this game, but the way they just threw out certain deaths, where it was just like split second, boom, that character's gone. I was like, holy shit! Like I wasn't
super a fan of like, Jesse was just like, well, I knocked this chick up. Hey, I saved your life, and now I'm dead. That was Jesse's character arc.
I liked Jesse though, because he just seemed like a good friend the whole game. Like he and Ellie got along from the start. He seemed like kind of the leader role, and then when you find him in Seattle, he's like, I'm not gonna let you do this alone. He was just a very like supportive character. And if you find some of the other like side levels, there's a lot of extra dialogue that goes on between Ellie and Jesse, and they talk about a whole lot. And I really liked his character. So seeing him get blocked like that, just in a split second, I was like, holy crap. And then Manny the same way. Like I ended up really liking Manny's character. I thought he was funny. And then just when they're fighting Tommy and he just gets like, oh, we can't get in, we got to find another route. Boom, headshot. I was like, holy crap. I was like, what is happening right now?
It's like, geez, like all these characters. It's like, also, one sort of unrelated is that when you're playing through like Abby's story, and you're seeing her interact with like all her friends and stuff, and you're getting to know them a bit better, I genuinely felt bad that like this is just a flashback, and I already went through as Ellie and
killed all of them.
Killed majority.
I felt the same thing when I was interacting with like Nora and Leah. I was like, wow, I murdered these people.
I felt bad about Owen and Mel, but the one that got me the most was Alice.
I was just about to say
that one stung so bad because like when you fall through the vent, a dog just attacks you. It's another guard dog. You don't think anything about it, but then they go through this whole situation where you play with Alice and like play catch with her and fetch, and then Yara does the same thing because the Scars are scared of the dogs, and it's like this whole thing, and you build up this like dog character as this is our pet, and then you come back to the aquarium with Lev and. And they're laying there dead. I was like, "Oh, that was Alice." I was like,
"No." Those fetch segments were specifically to get you attached to that one dog.
Oh man!
Just so the gravity of what you did would sting that much. Naughty Dog are some evil geniuses for that.
That was it. Yeah, that was really that hit hard. I didn't like that. I did, but I didn't.
Which, like, I said this to like Kneeckoh when we were like texting back and forth, but after like going through Abby's, not even but before Abby's story, I think it was when Ellie went after Nora. It felt like she was starting to sort of like lose herself. She was needlessly, at least to me, killing. She
went into like
Abby's
Abby
friends.
mode.
Yeah, she went into Abby mode. It started like when she cornered Nora, And then when Nora wouldn't really say anything, she just started beating the shit out of her.
Yeah.
Like she was already on death's door.
Like you could definitely see her start to lose herself in that moment because she was doing what Joel had talked about in the first games. Like we saw Joel do the same thing where, you know, when he wakes up in the winter segment and he's killing those guys to figure out where Ellie is because they took Ellie. It's the same situation, just
Yeah.
reversed. And she's
Yeah.
now doing what Joel taught her in the first game. And it kind of even plays to the guitar song throughout the whole game, Future Days. The Pearl Jam song. I think it's Pearl Jam, isn't it? I don't know. But where it's like I'd surely lose myself. Like that is the whole time she lost Joel, and you see her throughout the whole game begin to lose herself along the way.
Oh yeah, like before she, I think it was like before she went after Nora, she was like perfectly fine with leaving Dina behind to go after her on her own. And then it was when you're traveling with Jesse a bit, and then you hear Tommy might be nearby, and Jesse says, "Okay, let's get Tommy," and Ellie's like, "No, I'm going after this Nora bitch first." And it's like, but Tommy could be in trouble. It's like you kind of realize like she's becoming so obsessed with finding Abby and getting her revenge that she's not giving a shit about anyone else in that moment.
Yeah. There were so many instances where I just didn't want Ellie to keep going. Like so many, like the beating, like where you actually had to press square to get Nora to talk. I was like, come on. I was like, we don't like you don't have to do it, Ellie. Like you could go back and just be happy with Dina.
Yeah, it's like Nora's already fucked because she took in spores.
Yeah,
so
she's gonna die.
Just needless.
Yeah, that was So my next question: who is your favorite character in the game?
Ooh, that's hard to. I don't know if necessarily favorite. It might have to be Lev, honestly, because like seeing him interact with Abby and just the facts that because of how he was raised up so oblivious to like certain innuendos or like puns and stuff like that, I just thought it was funny. And then seeing him like sort of actually take after Abby, start repeating some of the stuff she says, I don't know, I just really like that.
It might be Lev because I don't know if there was ever a point in the game where I hated him.
No,
that
not
might be
at
the
all.
only character that might be true for.
I'm glad that we're all on the same page that Lev is the best character in this game. Because I genuinely, like, because I thought the Scars were cool. Like, I thought they were a cool, like, enemy faction as you were playing with Ellie, but then you meet up with Yara and Lev when your Abby playthrough, and you really start to understand their religion a whole lot more, especially when you're, like, on the missions with Lev, because he talks about it so much. And then you find out why they're running from the Seraphites, and you start to empathize so much with Lev because he just wants to be a warrior, and it goes against their tribe and their religion and their beliefs and everything, and how he's being discriminated against because of their beliefs and stuff. And it really speaks to like a real world problem where they take, because he even in the game he says the killings and all of the like extremist stuff didn't start till our prophet died. So then they're just taking the words of the prophet and then extremizing them, or I don't even think that's a word, but you get what I'm saying. Like they just take it to a next level because they're just taking the words, and that's the same thing that happens in the real world. Not in all situations, but it does happen where extreme terrorist acts and stuff like that happen because of misinterpretations of religious scripture and stuff like that.
Exactly.
I just want to say that like all the enemies in this game are like creepy, and the Seraphites are terrifying when you fight them.
Oh, like
those goddamn whistles.
Yeah.
That'll strike some fear into people. I swear.
The whistles was something different. I was not expecting it.
Yeah, I know. I did think it was cool. Plus, I already knew I was going to feel like uneasy or actually like slightly terrified of fighting them. Right when you go into the TV station, you find those bodies just strung about
hanging
with like
up
their
there.
stomachs slit open.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my god. I actually felt uneasy in there. I'm just like, what the hell am I
from
up
the TV
against?
station, and then your first fight with them as Ellie.
Yeah,
I was
where
like,
you get popped as you're going through the
people
park.
Develop a whistling language? Like, are they going to talk in whistles? Is that how this is going to be? They're like crazy people, and oh yeah. And
that
then the cutscene with Yara, where like they're getting ready to hang Abby, and they're like stabbing her.
Oh yeah, they're beating her arm with the hammer. They're clipping her wings, is what they called
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
That
God,
was
They
her
so.
arm.
bashed her
Oh
forearm in.
yeah.
Like, oh, these
Ugh.
are messed up people.
Yeah, that's the thing. You think they're messed up because of all the experiences you have with them, but then you get like Lev and Yara who talk about it with Abby, and you really start to understand like what it really is about, and not what they have made it about. And you like, I just think the addition of the scars was unnecessary, but it just increased the story like tenfold.
Really did. Like, it wasn't so much like the addition of the scars that adds to the story, but just of Lev and Yara Roan. Like, you need a reason to realize like why they were so important, and especially in
Yeah.
their relationship with Abby.
Yeah.
It's the fact that they came from this faction that Abby has been fighting for so long, and now she's protecting these two people who we don't even know if like maybe they have even killed any of Abby's the WLF's groups while Abby was a part of it, but she still feels the need is like, I gotta help these two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I
and-
also say I just
ahead.
appreciate how like even after you sort of find out like Lev's true identity, aka was Lily was originally a girl, you not like one character aside from the scars like slip up and referring to as
Yeah,
he,
they just
she,
don't. They don't make
he,
a
him.
big deal about it. They're just
I like
Yeah.
that a lot.
I mean, yeah,
like,
they're Lev now. Like, okay.
Like I thought one of the more powerful moments between Abby and Lev was when you get to like you're on your way to the sky bridge and
Yeah.
they start
like,
yelling
why are they-
Lily.
yeah.
And then it's like Lev was like, "Did you hear what they called me?" And Abby was like, "Yeah." And
And I'm just
Lev was like,
"You
"Are you gonna
ask me?"
ask me?" And Abby's like, "Do you want me to?" And it was like, "No." And she was like, "Okay." Like just left it at that. And I really liked that because I like that it wasn't a constant battle of he, she, he. Like Lev is a he. That is what Lev wants to be. That is what Lev is. And that just, I don't know. I really liked that aspect of the story. There was no conflict there about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really like how the game like it does like refer to some real world subjects on top of that, but it doesn't dwell on it a lot
Yeah.
or make it
Yeah.
a huge deal.
Yeah.
With like
It like lightly touches it, but it hits it effectively, and then it moves away, and it just forgets about it. Almost.
exactly.
Yeah.
It
I
Also-
doesn't make it like. It doesn't make them feel like the token character, like the token transgender character, or like Ellie and Dina as the token lesbian character, or Dina as the token lesbian. Like it's just
think,
yeah, okay,
I
cool.
think the point of it of including these characters is one to add diversity to the game, but two to kind of showcase like how Abby was just like okay and just kept referring to Lev as Lev and he. Like that it just showcases, and the whole Ellie and Dina situation, like aside from the start of the game with Seth, like no one really cares that they're lesbians, and I think it's like showing that there are just different people in the world and there shouldn't be a big deal about it. Like it shouldn't matter.
Can I also just say like in terms of like favorite characters, like Lev is best character, we established that. But I feel like close behind at second is Dina.
Oh my god, I have strong feelings about Dina, as Nico knows, bro.
Oh, no.
I'll find the text message I sent.
He's not
Oh,
a
no.
he's not a Dina fan.
Oh,
It was-
no.
it was-
I came around on her.
It was right after
we got
he
the
found out.
interactions- Once we got the interactions at the farmhouse, I came around on her. But before then, I was.
It was right after
upset.
he found out she was pregnant. He texts me and he goes, "Bro," he's like, "How is she pregnant?" He's like, "Why did she even come to Seattle with me?" He's like, "She's just gonna slow me down. I have to find Abby." And I was like, "Oh no, Colin."
We're gonna find it.
He's like, "How? Why would she do that?" And I kind of liked that text though, because it was the same way Ellie responded, really, in the game. She was like, "Why are you here?" Because she's like, "I didn't want to. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" She's like, "I didn't want to be a bother." And she's like, "Well, you're a bother now." And I was like, "Oh shit!" And then Colin texted me that, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Oh man, you find that text yet?
Oh, hold on.
Go ahead, Caleb.
I'm close here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think that does like say for her character, though, like she knew she was pregnant, and like obviously big deal now that she shouldn't have came, but she did because at the time she was more concerned about Ellie's safety, not so much helping her get revenge,
Mhm.
but she just wanted Ellie to be okay. That's how much she cared about Ellie.
Yeah, I
Quick
really.
tangent, real quick. I just found something. How about them blowing up your horse? That's messed up, bro.
Oh, that was bad.
That was the
I
first
like,
real
no.
jump scare of the game because I was sitting
Yeah.
here and I remember because Reagan was asleep behind me in bed, and I'm sitting here and I'm going and I'm just playing. I'm listening to
Oh,
Dina
I
and
found
Ellie talk, and then I jump over that barricade and then boom, and I was like fuck, and I said it like kind of loud. I was trying not to wake her up. And I was like, holy shit, that came out of nowhere.
My
I expected
horse.
it to be in all caps. That's why I couldn't find it. I just put, this bitch is fucking pregnant. Jesus Christ. Send her out to the infected. Fuck her. What were the series of text messages I sent him?
He was so mad.
I was very upset.
See,
at
but
this.
He was just-
I was upset when I found out. I was like, why are you here? Why are you not like? And then Jesse showed up. I was like, why are you not taking her back to Jackson?
Why did you not
I
rap
thought
before you
when
tap
Jesse
it?
showed up, I didn't think Ellie was gonna. I thought Ellie was gonna stay.
I was just like, why are you not taking her back to Jackson? Ellie's gonna go on this mission without you. She doesn't care at this point. And like I just was like, why? But then we got to the farm scene later, and you still see like all the interactions between Dina and Ellie up until the point where Abby gets to the theater, and Dina started to grow on me a lot. I really liked their
Yeah,
relationship.
through the farmhouse is when I was like, okay, I actually feel a connection to this character now.
Like especially when Abby beat Ellie, broke her arm, had her on the ground, and then Dina stabs Abby in
yeah,
the back,
that's true.
and then
That's when
she
it turned
held
for
the
me.
knife to Dina's throat. And I was like, no! And then
I was like, don't do it.
and that's another reason I love Lev so much is like in that scene. Abby was totally cool with killing the pregnant. She said good and everything, and then Lev was like, Abby, like, no, that's not fucking cool. You can't do that. He's like, you got your revenge. You've beaten her to a pulp. Let it go. And that was a good turning point for Abby because at that moment she let it go. She's like, don't let me see you again. I'm over it. Like, she was done. And her and Lev went on their way.
Jumping, and you get the evidence of that. You jump to the end, and she doesn't want to fight Ellie.
No, she just wants to
She's
get
like,
out
bro,
there
I
with
just want to
Lev.
get out of here. I've been through hell.
And it was that fight that I realized that I was definitely an Abby fan more than I was an Ellie fan in this game.
I know, it's like
because when
I don't
Ellie,
know if I'd go as far to say that, but that was when I realized, like, wow, Ellie is not quite the person I thought, and Abby is not quite. They're both not quite the people I thought they were.
When Ellie put the knife to Lev's throat and made Abby fight her, that was my point where I was like, okay, because even that whole California level, I text Caleb about this constantly. I was like, dude, this is not comfortable. Like, why? I hated that Ellie left the farm. She had this perfect life with Dina. They were raising JJ and all that stuff. And
I thought that was going to be the end of the game.
I did too at first, and then she left because
Same.
Tommy shows up and is like, "Oh, I know where Abby is," and I was like, "Crap! I know we're going after Abby again. I don't like this." And we get to California. I'm like, "Why are we doing this?" The whole time I'm sitting there going, "I don't want to play this. I don't want this end game like battle. I don't want any of it." And then when you finally do, and you put the knife to Lev's throat, and then you have to fight Abby, I didn't want to press square. I was drowning Abby, and I was like, why is this happening? Why am I doing this? I was like, Abby, just take the switchblade and fucking stab her. Like, get it. Like, I didn't want Abby to die.
I will say I didn't expect Ellie to let off. I thought she was going to follow through and kill
Yeah.
See, that's why I appreciate the scene with Joel at the very end there, where she's on the porch with him, and they're talking, and she's like, "You're such an asshole. My life was supposed to mean something." And then he's like, "I would have done it again if I could." And she says, "Oh, I don't know if I can forgive you, but I'll try." And it's that whole symbolism where she gets the flash of Joel with his guitar from that scene, and she's like, "I guess I have to try to forgive Abby because that she understands all of the situation now." And it's like, oh, it was super powerful. I really like that scene.
I will say, like, if it weren't for that, like, flashback scene, like, at the very end, because when I see, like, how hard or, like, everything's Ellie's going through just to get Abby, I'm just like, why is she going through all this for someone, like, because after that one flashback scene when she finds out what Joel actually did, I was like, you said you're done with him, you seem like you genuinely hate him, so why go through all the show? And then that ending flashback scene, like, explained it all. Because you gotta remember, like, before you actually, like, start the game, like, as adult Ellie, that happened the night prior, the argument and then that discussion on the
Yeah.
back porch. So
Yeah.
she didn't even get a chance to try and like
Yeah,
rebuild
to
her
actually-
relationship
yeah,
with
'cause
Joel.
she always is gonna have that love because it's like a father figure, and that's like when I said it's worth playing the game before we even started recording. That I said it's worth playing the game a second time because when you play through it again and you know what you know, especially in the scene where Joel dies, it hits that much harder because you understand. You've seen the flashback already, and you understand that the last thing that they really said to each other was, "I'm going to try to forgive you," and they hadn't really had a relationship before
which
that.
I'm glad. I thought the last thing that they would have said, because before I got to that cutscene, I wrote this down on my notes on my phone. Because the scene before that they interacted is at the dance where
Yeah.
is like, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah,
I
she's
was
like, I can fucking handle
"Bro, was
myself,
that-
Joel. And yeah,
Was that your last words to him? Was "I don't need you. Stop worrying about me." I was like, "Fuck."
yeah, that
I
was.
know that.
Oh man, and that's why I said playing through the game again. Like it's just as fun. There's just as many like I said, the whole Joel scene hit so much differently the second time because you knew they had no relationship for a couple years because Ellie had found out and she was gonna try and start rebuilding that relationship because even at the start of the game when they're on patrol she's like I think I'm gonna invite Joel over for a movie and you're like wow that's the first time they've hung out since Ellie found out.
Yeah.
And it's like that makes all these scenes hit so much differently and you understand a little more like Ellie's journey here and it just like the second playthrough is so good so far. I highly recommend hopping back in, boys. Give it a new game plus playthrough.
I
Plus-
want to talk about her finding out about what happened though, because I was worried that she was never gonna find out, and we talked about that before we really got into the second game. And after I finished the first game, I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh wow, is this just gonna be something that he has to take to the grave with him, and like they'll just she'll never find out?"
Yeah.
And then that moment in the hospital, it just broke my heart. I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, like which I feel like ever since like the ending of the first game, I feel like she knew like something was up. But
Yeah.
it wasn't until like she actually was able to go back to the hospital. She wasn't too before because
Yeah.
she didn't have like experience it enough before.
Yeah.
But she knew like something wasn't quite right. Because Ellie, she's smart. She's not like dumb to just outright believe just like,
And
oh, they couldn't find a cure, so they just let me go.
I found it impressive that she held to her word that if he told her the truth, that she would come back to
Yeah,
Jackson.
I was surprised by that as well.
Because
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think Joel's gonna tell her, and then he did. I was like, oh, well, there's no way she's coming back to Jackson then, and then she did. I was like, wow.
Yeah, it was
I know.
and I liked because when we started the game and we talked about why they killed Joel. I don't remember if I was talking to Caleb or Rice about it, but I was like, I guarantee that these people are from Salt Lake City. They have
Yeah,
to do
we
it.
were talking about it.
Yeah, I was like, they have to do with the Fireflies, and I thought that was going to be the extent of it. I didn't think it'd go any deeper than that. I thought it was just Joel wronged us, we're going to get back at him. But then the whole Abby thing and learning that her father was the doctor that was working and you had to kill in the first game, that added so much meaning because everybody had to pull the trigger on the doctor. That was the only. I blew them all away because I didn't want Ellie to die.
Yeah, me too.
I killed all the nurses. I killed the doc. I didn't care. But like you only had to kill the doctor and everybody had to do it playing through the first game. And that just added so much impact to the second game, learning why Abby's on this revenge. Like if it was just the Fireflies getting revenge, this game wouldn't have been near as good. But
No, it wouldn't have been
learning
impactful.
everything about Abby and what happened because I genuinely really liked the doctor's character in that flashback with the zebra and everything. And then how much he struggled with like the
Yeah.
idea of having to kill Ellie to make the cure, like that was really impactful, and I really liked his character, which makes me so much happier with how this because I genuinely, like I said at the start, I was like, they're just getting revenge, and this sucks. This is awful. Like I'm not a fan of just this idea that this whole game is revenge.
I
Yeah,
remember talking to you, and I wasn't sold on the fact that they were from the Fireflies because I thought you ended up killing all of them in the first game. I mean, I knew there were at least some people that got out, but I didn't know how many. And then, yeah, we were talking like, is this some other random person between Texas and Boston that we didn't know about that he messed with? Like,
Yeah, we were like, well, maybe it was because I was even listening to a spoiler cast. I would recommend checking this out, guys. Go look at Kind of Funny spoiler cast. They do one with just their actual crew, and then they do one with like Neil Druckmann, Troy Baker, and Ashley. I can't ever remember her
Johnson
last.
is her
Yes,
last
Ashley
name.
Johnson. And they did a spoiler cast, and they said in the first like write up of the script, it was actually that Abby was part of a group of like they were in like a caravan of people that were just trying to survive, and it was back when Tommy and Joel were hunters, and they would go and raid people, and then Abby made it out alive, and that was why her mission was to get back at Joel. So there was a bunch of different I think this and was a little like far more powerful.
This is better.
Yeah,
but I definitely can understand the thought of, oh, maybe it's like, because I mean, if you look back at the first game, you really get the idea that Joel wasn't a good person. Like,
oh yeah, no,
especially
he
like
wasn't.
like one of the scenes that always sticks out in my head is when they're driving into town. It's like the first real encounter with like actual people. Well, like it's after you get the car from Bill and you go to the town, and this guy's out in the road like, I need help, and then Joel speeds up, and it's like, I've been on the other side of that. You're like, oh shit, Joel's a bad dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like people forget.
I don't
like,
think it
people
fully connected until the end of the first game, where she was like, what happened? Just lied straight to her face. And then he doubled down on it, I think, in the first game. Like, you swear to me that's what happened? Like,
Yeah, because I think it was in the car she asked, like, what
Joel.
happened, and he said there's no
Yeah.
cure. Because it's been years since I played the first game. And I'm going to replay it because Reagan wants to watch it, so we're going to sit down and play it together. But, like, it's been years, but I'm pretty sure that's how it went in the first game.
It's very similar to that. At some point, she asks him what happens, and either at a similar point or at a different point, she asks if that's really what happens, and he's like, "Swear to God, that's what happened."
Yeah, that's like you see all throughout that game. Like I said, when he speeds up at the guy that's out in the road saying he needs help, when he's like torturing the guys in the winter segment to find Ellie, like you get that vibe that he's a bad guy. And that's why when you text me, it's like, I don't know if it's the Fireflies. I was like, okay, I could definitely see that angle because Joel's like messed with a lot of people along the way. So there's definitely that angle that this could definitely not be the Fireflies.
I was like, these are deeply flawed people. Like, these are not your classic.
Yeah.
Do good, can't do wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's almost no one in Last of Us games, the first or the second one, that is 100% a tried and true good person through and through. Like each and every person that you run into has done at least something that a good person would not do.
Yeah. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that it's like this whole game is very like morally gray. It's like, and it's so much interpretation. It's like, because I'm sure there's people that are still on Ellie's side after playing through Abby's segment. I'm sure there's people that don't care about Abby even after going through a whole thing with Lev and Yara. I literally almost fucking cried, guys, when Yara died. That was such a brutal scene.
It was, and it was just like so sudden, and you didn't even get time to even.
And then she had that last stand moment shooting Isaac.
And like I almost cried again when you're playing as Abby in California, and they popped Lev in the head. And he hit his head on the garage door and then fell to the ground. I thought he died. I was like, they're really going to do Lev like that. Like, they build up this character just to take him away like Jesse and Manny. I was like, no.
See, but what happened to me, I thought Tommy died.
But dude, Tommy should have died 3 times in that game.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I thought he was dead.
I had no issues with Tommy. And then I thought he died in the theater, and I was like, well, that kind of sucks.
Well, like
you literally pretty much, I mean, you lost 2 of the 3 people that came here with you, and then we get back to Jackson, and he's a doucher. And I'm like, well, there went that character for me. That sucks.
Because at the start of the game, I thought he was dead. Like, they beat his head pretty fucking hard. And like Joel was like, Tommy, like trying to get up and get over to him, but like, I thought he was dead there, and then he comes to Ellie's house, and then there was the scene when you're playing as Abby where she knocks him over the edge into the ocean.
Water,
I was like, how is he not dead there? Like that, like I knew he wasn't because he was at the theater.
I mean, you've swim through those waters with both Ellie and Abby,
Yeah,
so it's possible.
yeah, it's definitely possible. But I was like, Jesus, that is the fall. You don't know what's
Yeah, it's
in there.
brutal.
And I was like, okay. And then Abby pops him in the theater, and then we see him later at the farm, and it's like you see it was just grazed his face, and he's got like a scar there. I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy is like just dodging death left and right.
He's dodging death left and right, and he still wants to go after Abby. Like, leave the poor girl alone.
And
that was my thing. Like he was like, you owe it to me.
Well,
to Ellie, like, nah, bro. She tried. Stop.
I understand it to a point though, because I mean, when you think about it, they lost Jesse, and if they don't go after Abby, Jesse's life means nothing. They killed Joel, so he's still bitter about that, and he doesn't have anything keeping him around in Jackson anymore. He can't do it physically anymore because Lev popped him with an arrow in his kneecap. He took an arrow to the knee, I think it was his knee, and then he got grazed on the side of his head. He's disabled at this point. He can't do what he could before, and like he said, he and Maria are taking a break. They're not getting along. So he has nothing left but this revenge. And like he knows Ellie is the one person that can do it for him.
Yeah. One thing I also liked about the ending after your fight with Abby is how you get back to the farmhouse and you see that Dina's all moved out and gone with the kid.
I will tell you, when she said, if like, I'm not gonna be here if you leave, I called the shit out of her bluff. I was like, there ain't no way. She'll be right there.
No, dude, when that happened, I was like, Ellie, don't go. I was like, why are we doing this again? Don't go. I was like, she is going to leave your ass. She's been with you through all of it, but she's fed up with it. Just stay. That was one of those moments where I just wanted to be in the game and like have a talk with Ellie. Like, come on, Ellie, just sit down. You have happiness. You're raising a kid together. Like, why are you doing this?
No, at that point I would have just been grabbing Ellie and then I'd be trying to just be like, nope.
The thing in the farmhouse for me was like, she was talking about how she couldn't sleep at night, and like the only way she would be able to is if she took care of it. I'm like, bitch, no, you're not. You're gonna kill her, and you're still not gonna.
You're gonna feel horrible because it's the same thing that happened to Abby. Abby got her revenge, and we saw how that played out. She still had her nightmares even after killing Joel, and we saw
nothing gets better.
Yeah, and we saw that nothing got better for her. She still struggled with it, and then as you start helping Yara and Lev, you see that kind of progress in her dreams, where you like first you see Yara and Lev in the dream, and then after helping them, you see her father alive and well, and like you see that like, and that's why it made the whole California scene so uncomfortable for me. It was like, we've seen how this played out for Abby. If you go through with this Ellie, you're not gonna get better. You're gonna be totally gone.
True, but I also think Ellie's case was a bit worse because the one part in the ending where you're like rounding up the sheep and everything, and then you have that sort of like that PTSD hallucination almost. That was like, oh my god, she has like genuine PTSD. So like, even though like as much as even I didn't like want to like, don't go after Abby in California, it is not worth it. At the same time, and I think I even told Kneeckoh this, it feels like she just needs not even necessarily kill Abby, but she needs some sort of closure because she's tried to let go of it. She's tried to move on, but no matter what she does, even with like a kid, an actual family, their own like little piece of home, she cannot just let it go or forget about it because as much as she tries, it just keeps coming back.
I won't lie. I felt like California was super underdeveloped.
I didn't vibe with the whole California setting. I don't know if it's just because we played so long in Seattle that I just liked like the tall buildings and everything like that, or what the deal was. But or if it was just because I was so uncomfortable and didn't want Ellie to keep going after Abby at this point. I don't know what it was, but I just did not vibe with the California level.
I think it was just. I think it's just because like.
Go ahead.
I think it's just because like it was the epilogue chapter. It's basically the tried and true finale to wrap up everything. Yeah. You weren't gonna spend like a whole bunch of time there, so that's probably why it wasn't like as.
It felt like it needed to me. It needed to be more or not there at all, and I would have been fine with either.
I looking back, I appreciate the section. I didn't like playing through the section, and like I said, I don't know if it's because I just didn't like the setting or if I was just uncomfortable with what was happening. But looking back, it added to the story so much. Like
Yeah,
I,
Yeah.
it didn't add very much. Like I want to know. I feel like, see, the Seraphites started out as a mystery, but as the game progressed, we got to learn more about them and like got a decent amount of knowledge about them. I felt like with the Rattlers, we knew they were super mysterious, didn't know a damn thing about them, and then by the end of the game, we really didn't know much more about them.
I think it was just
Yeah.
the fact that in this world, no matter where you go, there's just going to be people either trying to survive or just like being cruel to others. Like that's just the world
Yeah.
that is The Last of Us, and I think that's just what they were trying to drive home there at the end.
Yeah.
Was just that
Yeah,
there's
just
people like that everywhere.
But I just
Yeah,
didn't understand. I was like, my thing was like, why do they keep prisoners? Why do they purposely turn people into infected and then chain them up? Why do they crucify people and let them like just slowly die? Like what is like why does that happen?
I think it's I heard this in one of the spoiler casts that I listened to on Kind of Funny, and I think it's a good point. Is it adds a new meaning to the name of the game, The Last of Us, where every faction is fighting for their people, their us. Like just how like we were in the first game we were fighting for Joel and Ellie, in this game we're fighting for Ellie, Dina, and everybody, and then Abby and Lev later in the game. It's like everybody has their faction that they're fighting for, and they're gonna do what they think is right to help their faction survive.
but like that's the thing with like the Rattlers. Like it wasn't so much stuff doing stuff that's right for to help them. Like a lot of stuff that seemed like they were doing was just like for their own pleasure. Like Rice said, like getting people infected and then leaving them chained up for whatever kind of amusement they get.
Yeah, that seemed like for
Capturing-
their own enjoyment.
Yeah, and then like
Well,
capturing
they said
them.
it was
basically-
because they said that they went and hung Abby and like basically crucified her because she tried to escape. That seemed to be like their punishment for not doing what they were supposed to do as prisoners.
Yeah.
Like they
Maybe
essentially
that's-
essentially they were slaves. They were it looked like they were
Yeah.
using those prisoners to like take care of the crops and stuff throughout their facility or whatever was going on there. And it was
Maybe I
like
just missed that
they
then.
used the
'Cause,
crucifying
I mean, I heard her say something about escape, but I didn't.
because they said where's Ellie asked the prisoners when she let
Yeah.
him out, where's Abby? And they were like, she tried to escape. She's down at the poles or whatever they called it. And that's when you find her basically crucified out there.
Yeah.
So I think that was more of a punishment than an amusement thing.
The other thing, this is more of a question. When she's in that house on the radio, was that the Rattlers talking to her?
No, because and I can
Was
confirm
that actual
this
fireflies?
is actual fireflies because I can confirm
Yeah.
that Neil Druckmann confirmed that you know how after you beat the game you get the new like title screen.
Right.
That is I can't remember the name of it, Catalina Island or something like that. Catalina Island, there it is. That the Fireflies were at. It was
Gotcha.
showing that Lev and Abby made it to the Fireflies. But that has been confirmed by Neil Druckmann. That is canon.
Okay.
Can I also just say
So then
like,
it was just wrong place, wrong time for Abby and Lev then
Yeah.
for those Rattlers.
pretty much.
Got it.
Can I also just say like the amount of detail that went to this game? My God.
Oh
one
yeah.
of my favorite bits of detail was when you're playing as Abby. No matter what level you're in, if you're somewhere high up and look down, she starts going through like her little panic attack phase and starts like
and like the
breathing heavy and
screen
everything.
around kind of gets fuzzy if you notice that.
Yeah.
It happens at
Yeah,
the.
and-
I never picked up on it till I started playing again, and like I noticed it on the Sky Bridge, and I was like, oh, maybe it's just because we're
That
here.
was the first time
but then,
I noticed
but
it.
then at the start of the game again, where the ice breaks out from under, her, where she's going with Owen to see Jackson, that whole fuzzy screen thing happens again. I was like, oh shit! Like this is just her fear throughout the whole game, and this like constant thing that happens for her.
There's another point later on in the game I noticed that after the Sky Bridge, and I was like, oh, this is just like a thing that happens to her if you're high up and look down.
And that's just
Maybe
like
it was in
there's
that
so much.
building going. I don't remember. Exactly.
I just loved the little details, like the cracking the safes and opening the safes, like without the combination. Whoever took the time over at Naughty Dog to put that in the game, kudos to them. That is such a small little thing that is so cool. Because I heard it in a review. I didn't think it was a thing, and then I couldn't find a combo, and I tried it myself, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, if you never pointed it out to me, I would have never noticed it. Honestly,
I would
'cause
have
it's
never
such a
noticed it either.
it's such a small and subtle difference in like the click that you get
Yeah.
whenever you turn the
Yeah.
dial.
Yeah, because there were
I
so
mean,
many
when I did
instances.
do it, it took me a couple times to because I would miss, like I'd hear what I thought was the click, but it wasn't quite.
Yeah. And there were so many times where I'd go through the whole thing and I was like, shit, I didn't hear the click. And I'd have to go through all 99 numbers again. But I was like, this is so cool. Like, even though it's kind of tedious to do it for yourself, it's so cool that somebody actually thought that that would be a good idea. And then I like the rope physics a lot. Like
Oh,
throwing
yeah,
the
the
rope around, like that was, in my opinion, really impressive.
I know, like I don't
Yeah.
know why it was just like it was somewhat satisfying. Just like grab a rope and then like figure out like okay, where am I supposed to throw this? I think there was one aspect with Abby where it's like you find a rope inside and you have to toss it like out through a sunroof so you can get to
Yeah,
the roof.
that I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. I struggled with that one too. That one took me a minute to
So
figure
did I.
out.
For some reason, I thought like because I saw like in the next room there was another sunroof. I'm like, okay, do I throw it from this sunroof to that sunroof? How is this gonna work?
I thought
That's exactly what
thought
I
the
think I
puzzles
thought.
in this game were really good. They were really
Yeah,
well
they
done.
were.
Whether it be the safes, finding the combination for the safes, or whether it was a rope. Like the one instance where you're playing as Ellie, it might be day 2. You're on your way to the hospital where you have to like break the glass and you throw the rope over the top of the glass and you crawl up and you go to a workbench, and then all of a sudden like that guy attacks you while you're on the workbench.
That was
Like,
horrible. That
I
scared the shit
and that's
out of me.
that goes back to those instances where you had the story elements that weren't really part of the main story; they were just there for you to find, and like
Yeah, like
it was super good because I thought it was a runner at first. I was
Me
like,
too.
oh shit, I'm gonna get attacked by an infected from behind. Turn around, Ellie. And then the guy smacks my head on the table. I was like, shit, these are real people. And they're yelling like, I'm not going back. And I was like, dude, I don't know who you are. I'm not here to fuck you up. But then they just start firing. And I was like, fuck, I gotta kill these people. And they're just trying to survive.
yeah, that's like another thing I realized. There's so many moments in this game that aren't even part of the main story that you can just find on your own as you're playing in all these like little nooks and crannies, like that, like playing "Take on Me" on the guitar in that music store. That's something a lot of people could just easily missed.
Yeah, and I think it
And
adds so much
never
more
even witnessed.
meaning to it and just makes it that much better of a scene.
Yeah, I know. Like it makes it feel like there's no such thing as needless exploring. There's so much you can find and
You're
so many different
rewarded
routes
pretty-
you can
Yeah,
take.
it's
Pretty mightily
yeah.
for exploring.
I liked the explain. I thought the acting was so well done.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it really was.
The acting,
But,
in,
I mean, I think the acting was really well done in the first game.
yeah,
And I know
and I know they
Ashley
go above and
Johnson
beyond.
Laura Bailey, who plays Abby, like I both knew them pretty well because of Critical Role. By the way, Laura, the chick who plays Abby, she just posted a picture on Twitter the other day. Like, went out and started weightlifting.
Yeah,
to
she
try
got
and-
jacked to
to
like
to look like Abby.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
She got huge to play Abby.
Yeah, I think I even showed. I don't know if this was 100% true or not, but I showed Kneeckoh like a tweet saying like how Abby was actually consisted of like 3 different people.
It was probably
Like,
like maybe I don't know how they do the motion capture, so maybe they needed stunt doubles or something for some of the scenes.
Maybe.
Especially
that was
like
part of
this,
it.
especially like the scenes where Abby, like if you fell when you were going through the Skybridge building, if you fell
Right.
down, like there's somebody that has to take that fall for the motion capture. So I can
Right.
see it being like body doubles and stuff like that.
True, but I mean, like I said, like it was like one person doing the voice, and then they had like the actual face of someone, like Abby's actual face was another person, and then Abby's overall build was a third person. And just the
Yeah,
fact,
that
like
makes
getting
sense.
3, yeah, I was gonna say, just getting like 3 different people to build one character, I thought that was like a really
Because
nice
Dina's
detail,
voice
too.
I don't know if you've seen Dina's voice actor, but it's what Dina looks like.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it look they modeled Dina after her. It's pretty obvious.
I mean, you can definitely like if you look at Joel, you could definitely see Troy Baker's face in there. Like it's very very similar facial features. Obviously,
Yeah,
Troy
kinda reminds
Baker's
me-
blonde and has his hair slicked back a lot of the time, but like you
Kinda
can see
reminds me
Troy in
of-
there.
I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but could you tell that Ellie's voice got like slightly deeper between the 2 games? I don't know
Yes.
if you remember it.
Yeah, I
Because
think
I remember playing the first game and I was like, I think they put Ashley's voice up like like pitched it up a little
I
bit.
think she
And then I was
just
playing this game and I was like, or she did it either way.
yeah.
But I was playing this game and I was like, okay, this is how she actually
Well,
sounds.
because like if you go back to a lot of the flashbacks when she's a kid, she has the higher pitched voice. If you
Yeah.
pay it close enough attention, and like I think that was a nice touch because it shows the aging.
Yeah.
It shows the aging and just like her overall like mental and emotional state. Because like I don't know if like you guys felt this way, but seems like sometimes Ellie would just be like, seemed like she was a very like more quiet person. Like she not necessarily like she wasn't talking out loud, but just like most of the time when she did talk, it was almost like somewhat hushed tone
Hesitant,
at times.
not confident.
Yeah, hesitant.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that especially at the start of the game when you're talking to Dina, and you start to see the relationship build. I noticed that a lot with Ellie. And to go back to like the acting, like if you pay attention, if you turn your camera around when you're doing like the stealth kills and stuff, they have facial reactions to every
emotive
for
faces.
every kill that you do, everything happening. They have different faces and stuff. And I was like, this is insane. The attention to detail.
Reminds me of the one facial expression I tweeted out of when Abby first sees a Skybridge, and she just has this wide-eyed.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I saw. I liked that. But another small detail that I liked a lot was that all the enemies had names.
Oh, I know. Like anytime you kill someone, it was just like Jack or Lisa.
Yeah.
No.
Like they were like really common names, but it did add.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like these weren't.
It added some weight to it.
Yeah, it was like these weren't just like random like enemies or stuff tossed together. No, like these people actually knew each other, and whenever one died, they would call out their names. They're like, no.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. And then one of the coolest little callbacks between Ellie's story and Abby's story was the Vita girl, where you kill the Vita girl going into the hospital, and then in Abby's story you see Vita girl again in the hospital. I was just like, oh crap! Like it just added so like we don't know Vita girl's name.
I forgot about that.
We don't know her name, but she's a big character because you encounter her both times, and you're just like, holy crap!
I also find the amount of like Sony like Easter eggs and stuff. There's like several PlayStation 3s you can find going throughout the game.
The big bulky ones too, like the OG model PlayStation 3s.
Yeah,
they're all over the place, and there's Uncharted 2 copies everywhere.
Exactly.
I noticed that.
Like, I'm just like, I like all these like nice little touches in there just to make it feel like, okay, this is like the actual, not exactly real, but somewhat like real world. This is just some sort of alternate version of Seattle. This is like what it would be like if somewhat real world Seattle or like world went to shit back in 2013.
Yeah.
Which that reminds me, another cool detail was like, I guess the song Joel played was like a Pearl Jam song that came out like after the outbreak
day, yeah.
And then people pointing out how it's like seemed like a plot hole, saying like how would he know that song if it came out after Outbreak Day? And then Neil Druckmann said like that's a good question. That's because this song they actually performed live and then posted a video of the live performance on YouTube on July. So
before Outbreak Day. Yeah, I thought that was like that guy has all the answers, dude.
Exactly.
There's
like
very deliberate reasons for everything.
Yeah, and I just love it. It adds to the storytelling so much. And I think that was one of the biggest takeaways from this game is the storytelling is done so well between giving you Ellie's story, making you hate Abby, and then putting you in Abby's shoes and making you understand the character.
Whoa. I know you hate her, but let's
but hold up a minute.
Just drop you onto there.
Hold up a minute. Play a second.
It's like give me a few more hours of your time. I'll change your opinion. I swear.
The storytelling was so good. I think that's what so many people are upset about is like this change because I will argue that switching from Ellie and you're in the theater and it's very like intense to back to Abby Seattle day one, the pacing was kind of off there. You went from very high action intense moments to we're back just like walking through the facility and stuff like that.
I talked to you about that. I texted you where I was like, this feels weird. And that's I didn't have very many problems with this game, but that was the pacing of it was weird. Yeah, I don't know. It felt
And I kind of had the same feeling going to the farm. As much as I loved the farm segment, I felt the same way where you come off of Abby's story, you're leaving, the Seraphite Island,
yeah.
and everything's crazy, and then you go to the theater, you have your battle with Ellie, and then you come to the farm, and it's like slowed down again, and it's like the pacing in the game is just kind of
That didn't
just a
bother
little
me,
off.
but that might be because I thought that was the end of the game.
That's fair.
True.
I
Like-
I I had a feeling. I was like, there's no way they end this game on a happy note. I was like, because there's no real conclusion. They're gonna end it
Fair.
just with Abby kicking the crap out of Ellie. Like I just can't see it that way.
True. Like honestly, I think I would have liked the game less if it was just like a tried and true happy ending. The fact that it was like, Ellie had her chance to kill Abby but let her go, and then she comes back and Dean's gone. She's by herself.
Yeah.
So like the fact that it wasn't like a tried and true happy ending, but now it's just more so an ending is like, okay, where does Ellie go from here?
And then
Would you guys have preferred a choice to kill Abby or let her go at the end?
No, I like how it
no.
ended personally.
Because I feel like that would have been like a bit of a cop out on Naughty Dog's part, because like you're building all this up to the end, just like leave the choice up to the players, when
Okay.
really
I was
it's
just
not so
curious.
much. It's not so much like the way the players want the story to go, but it's telling like Ellie and Abby's stories the way it should be, instead of
'Cause
leaving it all
reason-
up to decision.
The reason I liked it, I liked the way it ended, was it added the impact of that final scene with Joel and Ellie on the porch. It gave that meaning. If you were able to decide whether or not to kill Abby, that would have taken that whole meaning away. And it would have taken all of that. And then on top of that, going back and seeing like the aftermath of it all, like Ellie trying to play the Future Days song without her fingers. Like that was so impactful, and it shows like she lost everything, like literally everything. Dina's gone. There's no JJ's gone. She can't even play the song anymore. Like everything is gone.
I feel like the not being able to play guitar the same way anymore was like really heartbreaking, because like you gotta think that's probably was like one of her last like true connections to Joel, because that guitar she was playing was the one that Joel gave her like years prior.
Well, it also like I don't know if you guys noticed, like the moth on her guitar is the same moth in her tattoo. Because
I didn't notice that.
And I had to look into it because I was curious because I'm really into tattoos, obviously, and I wanted to know the meaning behind the tattoo. And there's a lot of symbolism with the moth. It searches for the light, and the whole time Ellie's in the dark in this game and is just trying to get back to the light. But it was the same thing of there's this moth, and she incorporates it in her tattoo, and it's on her guitar, and it gives this tattoo so much more connection to Joel and so much more meaning to Joel.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of the tattoo personally.
Yeah. Can I also just say, like, does anyone else feel like after beating the game wanting to learn like acoustic guitar now?
Lightweight.
I constantly throughout the game I was like, this would be kind of cool to just play guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be like chilling on a porch or back patio, and you're like singing Rocket Chair, just strumming away.
Also, we're like 100% sure that JJ stands for like Jesse Joel, right?
Probably,
oh yeah,
probably
100%.
Or Joel. It's one of the
two.
those
Yeah.
two. Okay.
Well, I feel like it's a sentence for both of them, because kind of makes me think of my aunt. They have a dog named DJ, and it stands for the initials on like my uncle and my dad. Like that's their initials, like Donnie and then Jeff. So I feel like that's the case, because Joel, Jesse,
and that goes back to there's so much symbolism in this game. Like I don't like with the whole moth thing and the tattoo and on the guitar. There's the JJ. And then, I don't know if you guys noticed this. This was something I picked up on at the very end of the game. If you look at the way the curtains are blowing when you walk into the house and see it empty, does it or does it not remind you of the title screen in the original Last of Us game?
Oh, now you mentioned it,
I did not make that connection.
But as soon as I walked in, I was like, that is the same title screen. Like, if you just zoom in, especially when you get to the end and it's like the guitar there, take the guitar out, it's the title screen.
Can I also just point out how nice ass of a house Joel had? Like, that man had everything.
But yeah,
he didn't just have like a coffee maker. He had like an espresso machine that you would find at like Starbucks.
But yeah, it was that I liked that little touch. I don't know if it was intentional. I can't imagine it wasn't intentional, but I liked it a lot. Where I was like, "Damn, that is literally, especially the window literally on the left, on the back of the house, right as you walk in. That looked exactly like the title screen from the original game." And I was like, "That is so cool how they were able to incorporate that and really show that this is a part two.
Oh
Like this
yeah,
is
like, I
one
wouldn't
of
be.
the whole story."
I feel like there wasn't one decision in this game that didn't have like some meaning behind it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, I want to point out how like their recreation of Seattle was like so accurate because I was watching it was Jacksepticeye's playthrough. It was when he first got to Seattle, and as he was playing through, he was actually like recognizing buildings where he's had like conventions or
Yeah.
talk panels at, and the
I've
fact
heard
that they looked 100% true. He's like, I've been to this building before, or stuff like that.
I've heard a lot of the buildings are very true. And I like that addition, like when they find the PAX Center. I was like,
Oh
that's
yeah, I
so
know.
cool. Where Jesse's like, yeah, I guess this is where a bunch of people that are really into comic books meet up. And I was like, that's so cool that they're including this and showing like life before Outbreak Day.
I know it really like goes to show like what at what point the world ended, and the fact that aside from survivors and stuff, everything else is basically like stood still in that time. Now is just stuck there, like leftover pack
Yeah.
stuff, Comic Con, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
There is one scene we have to talk about that we
Yeah.
haven't brought up yet, and I'm really surprised none of us have brought it up. The museum,
Because
dude.
I was about to
Museum,
bring it up
dude.
earlier.
Oh god,
That's
That's
the one point in the game that almost got me to cry.
I
When
know
she's
because
sitting there listening to that tape in that
Yeah.
rover or in that shuttle, and you hear the audio, that almost got me.
I know, like I was just seeing that, and I was just thinking,
That's like the complete antithesis to like when we're like, oh, these are bad characters. These are
Oh,
not perfect human beings.
yeah.
Then they give you that, and you're like, oh, these are good people. Oh no.
also
It
like
hits
I
ya.
don't know if you guys like did this at all, but when you get to the museum and you first see that T-Rex, I don't know if you guys did, but did you know you could actually like climb up it and then jump off into the
What?
water?
No.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my! I'm so glad I'm playing through the game again.
Yeah, like you were able to climb out, and then
No
like
way.
and once you get to the top of the head, Joel's like, "Don't you dare jump!" It's like, "Nah, I'm not gonna jump," and then you jump anyway. He's like, "God dang it, Ellie, gonna give me a heart attack."
I I loved
Do you
that scene
guys
so much because you
was
got
it
to
an
see.
optional
Go ahead.
was it an optional thing to throw the hat on top of the
Yes.
Yes,
Brachiosaur?
and if you
Oh,
put it on Joel, you get a trophy.
you could have put a hat. Oh goddamn! Because like I saw like Sean's video, he put like a hat on Ellie,
Yeah. If
and
and
I
you
think
got to
the
put
whole
one
time
on
he was
Joel,
yeah,
and
I
then you get
think
a
he was
trophy.
trying to, but he couldn't figure it out. Like, dang,
Mm.
that just goes to show like how much you can easily miss all these like little
Yeah.
nooks
Yeah.
and crannies and like Easter eggs.
I loved that you really got to see Joel and Ellie's like father-daughter relationship in that scene
Yeah.
specifically, like where he pushes her in the water and it's a callback to the first game where she couldn't swim at all, so he taught her to swim. Like
Yeah.
that was really cool, and just seeing like
And then when she pushes him in,
yeah, like you just see this relationship, and then like also appreciated like Joel like talking about like Jurassic Park and the sequel and everything as they're
yeah.
going through,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like talking
And-
about the world before Outbreak Day. I just really thought all of it was so perfectly done.
Another like callback to Ellie not being able to swim is that when you jump into that barbed wire as you go into that one building that Joel hasn't like swept through yet, if you like turn around when you jump in, there's like a pallet you can find. And then when you hit triangle it, like Ellie refers to it as like, "Hey Joel, want to give me a ride?" And Joel just is like, "No, that ain't gonna work on me anymore."
No
Oh, I
way!
missed that too.
That's so cool.
I know.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, that museum got me though.
Yeah,
Holy
the museum
moly.
was good. I cried at
I
the
know.
end of the game. When the credits rolled, I cried.
I didn't even cry. I was just like left in like
I
disbelief. I
just
was like,
let the credits roll and just sat there thinking about life.
Yeah, I sat there
same.
and just thought, because what made me cry was the journey. Like I literally started thinking about part one and just like everything that had happened to get to the end of part two, and like I couldn't help, like tears just started coming and rolling, and I was like, oh
Yeah,
my
I was
god,
just-
this
During
game
that
is
time,
so good.
I started putting all the flashbacks back in the like chronological order.
Yep,
And I was like, oh my gosh.
like it was
And like, it kind of made and like the ending, it made me feel like sad for Ellie because like she went through, so she basically started alone. She found Joel, and then once they got to Jackson, formed like all these other relationships with people, and then by the end of this game, like now she doesn't have any of that.
all.
She lost Joel, doesn't know where Gina or the kid is. Jesse's gone. Who knows what her relationship with Tommy would be like?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
it's
the question of whether she went back to Jackson or what she did after she left the farm is beyond me.
yeah, I don't. It's that's oh my god, my chair. That's
Oh.
definitely left up to interpretation, and that's what I was listening to the spoiler cast with Neil Druckmann, and he basically said that's like it. The end of this game was left that way, so you would have the idea of either deciding if she was going after Dina or if she was going to find herself again, because you know how the end she couldn't play the song. I'd surely lose myself if she was just going out to find herself again. There was that whole. It's like it's up to the interpretation of the player.
I'll be honest. Right now, she found a life with Dina and is living happily.
Oh, that's your ending.
Yeah, I've decided that.
That's canon.
You can't
Rice
tell me
has made it
otherwise.
canon.
That's how it lives in my head.
Nothing else. We
She
didn't go to
found
California.
Dina and convinced her to move back into the farmhouse, and everything is great. That is what
I'm
happens.
kind of
if you
with
ask
you.
me.
I'm kind of with you on that because of the "I'll try to forgive you" scene right before that and after she leaves the farm. Like I'm wondering if it's like the same thing. It's like Dina, because Ellie loves Joel so strongly that she can try to forgive Joel. So then maybe she's hoping the same thing can happen with her and Dina.
Yeah.
All right,
I've chosen to believe that.
I'm cutting in for a second. I have to go like help unload groceries, but I'll be right back. So
Okay.
Okay.
I'll be right back. All right, what I miss?
Nothing. I was just gonna cut this out.
Okay. All right. So one other thing I want to talk about
Hold
was
on. I don't know if Colin's here.
Oh,
we both
I
took
didn't
a
know
minute.
he left.
We both took a minute to
didn't
go
know he-
pee.
Okay.
All right, I'm back.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Caleb.
I was gonna say one other thing I feel like we need to talk about was the enemy types, specifically the zombies, and I think you know like at least two of them that I'm talking about:
Shamblers and stalkers.
Shamblers, and then Big Bertha that you
Oh
fight
my
at
god!
Ground Zero.
Fucking
I was
Christ, that
really
thing.
concerned about what that was actually going to be. Because, like,
Yeah,
obviously, because that was like ground zero for the infection. Like, those, because we learned throughout both games that the longer that they're infected, the more, like, fungus they
Powerful they get.
are. Yeah. And, like, I was like, dang, this is ground zero. And then you see how big that crater is in there. And you're like, what is in there? Because that's, like, got to be a super bloater.
Yeah, so when I first saw that, I thought it was like, do I have to go in there?
I
And that
appreciated.
stalker that came off of it was not a normal stalker.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
I appreciated
that fight
whole.
took a lot of attempts by
Yeah.
me.
It took one extra attempt. I died the first time because I didn't know as soon as it got to you, it was gonna grab you and just chomp on you.
Oh, it took me a few times. I'll say
It took me probably double-digit attempts. Granted, I was playing on hard, but there was a lot of like running around.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, I'll throw two of the fucking mines at it or whatever.
Yeah, the
Even
impact
on-
grenades.
That won't kill it.
Yeah,
Even
Yeah,
on
the impact
moderate,
grenades,
it was a
nope.
challenge.
yeah. It took me. I died the first try and I took it out the second time. That was intense. I liked the running scene. I like all of the scenes where you're running from the infected because
Yeah,
that just adds
I
to
like
it.
that too.
And like that one specifically, because how big it is, you're like, if that thing gets me, I'm toast. So like that added so much intensity to that scene. I loved it
Plus,
so much.
The
I
fact
felt
that
like I
wasn't
needed
even...
to be perfect playing through that encounter.
Oh,
like I
yes.
needed to be playing
Yeah.
perfectly running away from it, or else I was going to die.
I felt like, okay, I need to rain hellfire and basically everything I got this thing to bring it down.
Yeah.
Because just the fact that it didn't even seem like one zombie, but just like a bunch that somehow got clustered together to form just one big thing. Especially, and it kind of confirmed when that like one stalker broke off.
Yeah.
Which the thing that was almost odd about that stalker is that it actually seemed like somewhat intelligent. It didn't seem like just
Yeah,
not a
it did.
random zombie. Which like stalkers they're already like kind of more intelligent than the rest of the zombies because they
Yeah.
actually hide and wait to get to jump on you. But this
Yeah.
one, something just seemed like different about us. Which
Well, like because
that
he
kinda
hid
made me-
and then ran from you after the fight was over.
Yeah, I know he hid and ran, and then he was like trying. Whenever you would like start wailing on him or shooting him, he would do like hit and run attack. He's like, okay, I'm losing sight, so I'm going to start running again.
Yeah,
and
it
then
was.
gonna try again.
I'll say I thought that more zombies or more infected were gonna break off of that thing.
I did too.
So
I
did
definitely thought
as
another one was gonna pop off it.
At least one more.
I was mainly worried with that stalker because like, okay, I got a stalker, now I got this big bloat thing after me. I gotta take at least one down to make my life easier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I was like, shit, I have to. This is not easy. Because I think I got the stalker off in my first time. But
Yeah,
then
because
after that, I'd be like, I gotta kill one of them
Yeah.
if I
I
have a
think
chance.
I think I got kind of because so as Abby, I got a weapon that I don't know if you could miss out on or not, or if you would get just like a bit later on, like automatically. But I was kind of thankful for the flamethrower I got.
Yeah, I had the
Yeah,
flamethrower.
I had that one.
Okay,
I was so
okay,
happy I had that.
I wasn't
I
sure if it
think
was
you
one
could
that
have
they.
missed it because there's a trophy in the game for collecting all the weapons. It's a silver trophy, not a bronze trophy. So I think some of the weapons you can just miss out on your first playthrough if you're not watching.
Yeah, I feel like that's the case because the flamethrower definitely seemed like something you could definitely miss out on because
Yeah, it
after
felt
I
pretty
grabbed it,
necessary though for that one.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
I used all of my ammo in that thing.
I was using all my ammo. I was frantically running around.
Yeah.
There were a few. The worst instances where I just accidentally corner myself because it's dark as shit, so I don't necessarily
Yeah.
see everything. But also with the enemies, I don't know if you guys had this happen to you. I didn't have this happen to me till like the very end when you're in the Rattler's like home base. It's like you wipe out like most of the enemies in an encounter, and then you get down to one, and then you actually make them start surrendering, like getting on their
Yeah.
knees, cowering, like begging.
I've
for
had
their
that
lives.
happen a couple times, and then you just brutally
Yeah.
smack them in the
I think
head.
I think I had it happen twice.
The thing
It
is, I
happened
didn't
to-
even know that was. I didn't even know that was a thing because, like, I know there was like in the trailer when that one big guy's chasing after you,
Yeah.
and you just like riddle his chest with arrows and bring him to his knees. I thought that was just for trailer's sakes, which I think was slightly more done up for the trailer. But the fact that you can actually do that in game, oh my god! I was like, wait,
Yeah,
I
that
can
happened to
make
me with a
people beg
couple
for their life?
scars. It was a couple scars for me that did that.
Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to ask is, Kneeckoh, how did you feel about the Shamblers?
I don't like the Shamblers, man.
I didn't. Yeah,
They're
I
just
didn't like 'em
annoying.
either because they didn't have any like anything you could exploit about them.
Yeah,
They
there
were
was
just
no like.
better clickers.
Yeah, they were just supercharged clickers. Cause
Like at least with clickers, you were like, if you don't press all the way forward on your joystick, they won't be able to hear you, and you can
Yeah.
sneak up on them and kill them. Shamblers, it's like
There's-
I mean,
you either snuck by
Good luck.
Shamblers or you wasted ammo on Shamblers, and they were just a nuisance throughout the whole game.
yeah,
Oh, I almost every time I pretty much brutalized every Shambler in sight. There was one instance in particular, and this was just a dumb move on my part because it was so blatant and I fell for it. I was like raiding a building for supplies and stuff, and then I see like this giant hole in the ground that goes down to like the basement, and there's supplies above. I was like, ooh, more supplies. And
Yeah,
I just
I did
not
that
even
too.
think about it.
Yeah, I did
Jumped down to get the supplies, and boom, there's just two Shamblers, and I was
Yep.
like, shit.
I did
And then
that
I
they
think I
cornered me
ran
in-
past those.
And then they corner me in the bathroom. I'm just like, well, it's a good thing I'm in the bathroom because I'm about to piss myself.
So Colin had one question, and then I've got 3 questions, and then we can wrap this up because we're going on an hour and 35 minutes already.
Real quick,
Yeah, right.
real quick, I wanted to say, dogs worse than any new zombies. I hated those dogs. I felt
Oh,
like
I know.
they were. Not that I'm like super angry about this, but I felt like they were the shamblers of human combat, where I didn't know what to do against them, and it pissed me off.
I
Yeah.
didn't like the dogs because I didn't like killing the dogs.
See, I felt that way at first when you first encounter them, but then
Yeah.
it got to the point, it's like, okay, you annoying.
That
fuckers
part
need to
didn't
be
bother
put
me.
Down.
No,
But if
every
I- a
time
lot-
they cried, I was like, oh, my heart.
A lot of the time when I did combat, I wanted to sneak around and stealthily take out people, and it was
Yeah.
a lot harder with those dogs because you can't
Yeah.
really stealth kill them.
I'm pretty sure at one point I went like, all right, Fido, say hello to Old Yeller for me.
Yeah, there was the way I handled the dogs is I'd get my scent trail going, and then I'd squeeze somewhere that I knew the human wouldn't follow, and then I would just hide with my bow and take it out quietly, or use a silencer and pop it in the head. And then, like, it was this was one of the immersion breaking segments, was that the humans, after you took the dog out in a room that they weren't in, they never followed the dog. They would
Yeah.
they would go on their way, and that was one of the few moments
Like,
where
oh,
I
I
was
wonder
just
what
like,
happened to my dog.
and then they just walk the other direction. That was one of the few things in this game that I was like, okay, this is a video game. There
Yeah,
is like some
okay.
weird elements to it.
yeah. I was
That
gonna
right there
say,
leads well. Oh, go ahead, Caleb.
no, I was gonna say like that was kind of one of those moments where it's like, okay, the AI is a bit better, but it's still like
Not
50-50 on
fantastic.
intelligence.
That leads into my question, which was, were there things about this game that you did not like,
Uh
I mean,
story wise, or anything?
it's
Like,
it's hard to say.
yeah,
because I'll
it's.
say the pacing with leading into Abby's story, I didn't like. I didn't like how short California was.
I will say the
Right.
pacing I didn't like. I didn't mind California's like. I didn't mind how short it was. I kind of liked that because I kind of at that point I was uncomfortable and I was like, I'm kind of over this like gameplay loop. I was like, I don't want Ellie to do this, so I don't want to keep killing these people and progressing. Where
Right.
before I was on the side of whoever I was playing as, and I was like, okay, we need to take these people out to progress to where we're going. But at that point, I was over it. I was like, this revenge mission is stupid. I'm over it. Let's stop. And that's why the California level kind of didn't vibe with me. It wasn't that I hate the California level. I just didn't like what was happening within it.
All right. Well,
Yeah, like
so those are mine.
It was. Go ahead, Caleb.
I'm like I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Not that I'm saying like, oh, it's a perfect game. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just like off the top of my head, I can't think of much. But I'm sure if I were to go back and go through it, I could probably pick apart some stuff. Because like in my mind, no game is ever going to be tried and true perfect.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of good things, but if you take the time to go through it, you'll find like some stuff that
For-
probably sticks out.
For me, it was the pacing, and then it was those just small moments, especially with the enemy types, where like you could tell it was a game. Like with the dog situation, where you kill their dog, but they don't follow the dog to make like check to see what it went after. And like even if you don't take out that person right away that was walking with the dog, they never go, I wonder where the hell my dog went. Like
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
it's just small things like that, but it's nothing overall really. There was nothing super bad that I didn't like about the game.
Nothing that really makes you go like oh, this game is nothing special or anything. No,
It's nothing that's gonna make me like take points off my score for the game.
Yeah, like it's tried and like it's a great game and all. Like everybody's gonna nitpick stuff on it, but nothing that completely game. Just like little small stuff, like you said.
Gotcha. All right. Whatever questions you had, Nico.
So my question is, and I'm gonna lead with this one: do we think there's going to be a part 3?
So
do we think or do we hope?
I mean,
those might have two different answers.
Because well, here's my thing with this: is I sit the same way with this game that I sat with the first game. It's a masterpiece. I'm fine if they leave it here and just leave it open, because that's how they left the first game. It was like they left it very open.
My answer to do I want a third game is I could be okay ending it here, but I also would be happy with the third game.
The only thing with the third game is I want it done just as well as the first 2 games.
Yeah, it's like
if I want it.
I don't want to sacrifice.
I don't want it to get into the point of like games like, Assassin's Creed, where it's just like we're pumping these out because people buy them. Like I want to have the experience again with a new story, because I remember playing through the first game and how much I loved the first game, and then how much more I even love this game because they just do like new things, and I want that same experience if we're going to get a third one. I don't want to sacrifice anything.
My thing is that I don't know where they would necessarily go with the third game.
My only thought, and I don't think it'll happen because the way, the game ended, but is that, Abby goes to the Fireflies and talks about her experiences and, in Seattle and everything, and they find out that Ellie is still alive and the Fireflies come after her to make a cure. And at this point, and this is my perfect scenario for A Last of Us Part 3, is that the Fireflies are so desperate to do it at this point that Ellie has found a life with Dina, and that there's this whole situation where they come for her family, and that's what would like push the story forward.
See, like I wouldn't mind that, but like the one thing that sort of like would stick out is that how in the game they said Abby's dad was pretty much the only person left. that can make
That
you
could
cure,
do
and
it.
Yeah.
and that was kind of like the whole reason why the Fireflies end up somewhat disbanding or like everybody turning against them because like before they could make a cure, but now they don't have the person who can make it,
Yeah.
and so people accuse them of being liars and stuff. Because I
My
feel
only-
like if
yeah.
they still could make a cure, then they probably would have still seeked out Abby and not Abby, Ellie and Joel. But the fact that you don't really see any Fireflies at all throughout the game up until like the very end, you just hear from them.
Yeah.
Tells me just like, okay, they really can't make a cure anymore because they lost the one person that could make it. But in terms of a third game, I'm fine if they leave it at this. I won't complain about a third game as long as like it continues on from a point where it makes sense and it's not just
Yeah. It's
beating
not just
beating a dead horse. As I was
yes.
like saying,
That's. I feel like it might be though, because I don't know how you don't make it just another revenge story.
I,
I was
yeah.
gonna say,
I don't. It's. I don't know. I could see not necessarily be The Last of Us Part like 3, but just make it The Last of Us like the Sarah
Like,
fight or
maybe-
something, and then make it about Lev.
make
Put
it
us
like
in the
some
shoes
sort
of
like,
Lev and like continue Abby and Lev's story. Just make it. You don't have to call it Part 3 or call it Last of Us 3 or 2 or whatever the hell they would end up naming it. Like call it the Sarah fight or something or the Firefly, and it's about Lev and Abby's story after everything that happened.
just like some sort of like not like necessarily a direct sequel, but maybe like somewhat of a spin-off in the Last of Us world.
I'd be fine with that. Like, because honestly,
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to see what happens to Abby and Lev going forward. Like, I feel like we could leave Ellie's story behind and just like let that be open ended. Let it be, oh, she's out finding herself again, or let her find it with Dina, and don't ever answer that question. Just leave it how it is, and then go and continue Abby and Lev's story.
Yeah, because like we've basically with at least Ellie, sorry, we've already like seen her story. We know her past and everything, where she's coming to anything. With Lev, his story basically is just starting.
Yeah.
Like when we meet up with Lev and like we're helping him and Yara and everything, that was the beginning of their story. So they could definitely continue on that in like a spin-off game.
And then my next question off this is, what do you guys rate this game?
Oh, I think I might have to give
On what scale?
You could rate 10
give
out
us
of
a scale.
1 to 10.
Are we
1 to
so
10.
numbers? Okay.
Yeah, 1 to 10, and then is it in your top 10 games?
Oh, in my top 10 games for sure. Like,
Yes.
I will
top
not
10 games. I'd probably give it like a 9.
Yeah.
7, 9, 8, something like that, maybe.
I
Maybe
would
9,
try.
6.
I'd go like probably like a 9.5 out of 10 because this is like probably one of the best games I've played. But like, I don't know what is. There's like some. I don't want to necessarily give it a perfect score just because there's like, of course, like little stuff you can
Because
pick.
I have mild gripes, and I feel like they're significant enough to where I don't need to give it a perfect score.
Yeah, but like,
Kneeckoh, I've said this to you. I personally think that this game was better than the first game.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, by far.
By far. Yeah.
Like,
I love the first game. I love it.
I don't think I would have. I don't think I hold the first game as highly as at least Kneeckoh. I don't know about Caleb.
Yeah, I don't like exactly like rave about the first game at all. Like I recognize like it's a great game. Like after starting to play the second one, all the memories of playing the first one started coming.
After
back,
I finished the first game, I said it was like a B+ game. I think I still sit there.
Yeah,
which like it's a good game, but I wouldn't put it as great. Like I don't think I'd put it in that next like really high tier.
Yeah, but I would say like this second one is significantly better than the first in terms of world. Yeah.
In all fairness, I did play the first game 5 years too late, or 4 years.
Yeah, you were the hype around it was gone.
Yeah,
the magic of it, and the conversations around it. I mean, people are still talking about The Last of Us 1, but like it wasn't to the same level of excitement that it was when the game came out.
Plus, like even
there is that.
Plus, like even with it being a remaster, some of the age still shows since it came out originally on PS3. But like the second game is just so much better in terms of like story, the actual level design, the enemies, the combat, and encounters. Like there was not one moment where I just didn't want to keep playing and explore and everything. The encounters were probably my favorite part, just because like I could go about it like either stealthily, and then when I fuck up, I just go guns a-blazing or try and hide again, or just run my ass off through it. And that was probably like my favorite way to go about it, is that if it was a crap ton of enemies, just fucking book it, because that it felt legit like an action movie scene, just running while everybody's shooting at your head.
Yeah. For me, I would rate the first game like around an 8.5 or 9, and I love the game to death. So, based on all the improvements that they've made in the second game, and then based on the storytelling, I mean, I've never played a game that made me think as critically or that I've wanted to talk about so much after beating than The Last of Us Part 2. Like, it's a fantastic game, and I've never had a game make me feel uncomfortable but make me keep playing. Like, if I didn't like a game or I didn't vibe with something happening in a game before, a lot of times I just put the game down and wouldn't play the game. But this game, despite all of that, I kept playing. So for me, I have to give it a 10 out of 10. This game is fantastic.
Which I won't fight for.
I mean, I'm not mad at that.
I think it goes... Like, if I were to play the first game today for, like, the very first time, I still wouldn't talk about it as much as we're talking about this second one right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
I don't think, from the story of the first one, I don't think there's as much to discuss as this one.
This one's much more like emotionally
invested.
Like you get more invested in this one emotionally than you do the first one.
I'll say I'm on record in our friend group saying the best story in a game I think I've ever played is the first 2 seasons of the Walking Dead Telltale game, and I think these 2 games are higher as a story and storytelling than those were, and I love those games.
Yeah, I would see, like, rounding up I would say, like, top 3 in terms of games I play with, like, the best story is, in no particular order, is Last of Us 2, 2018 God of War, and 2018 Spider-Man.
Okay, well,
those have those are like my top.
Don't say anything about God of War, because that's
still gonna play that. That's sitting next to me on my.
No, I'm not gonna say anything about it at all. I'm just saying, like, that's probably like one of my favorite, like, stories.
I think that's journeys. Fair. I think that's fair. And my final question, we're gonna get a little philosophical here. What is your guys' interpretation of the meaning of the game?
I think it just goes to show, like, no matter how much you think you need something in terms of this game, revenge, like, almost both Abby and Ellie thought, like, they needed, like, their revenge in order to, like, move on with their lives. But then even when they got it, or in, like, Ellie's case had the chance at it, they realized it's not what they needed. But for so long, that's what's keeping them driven. And Abby was able to find, like, meaning after she got revenge through, like, Lev. So now, like, she has found her purpose after getting revenge, whereas if she didn't find Lev, I feel like she just would have been lost, because that's where Ellie's at now. She had her chance at revenge at Abby, but didn't take it, and now she comes back. She doesn't have Dina. Joel's gone. She doesn't have her kid, so she's basically just left lost, not knowing what to do or what she's going to do next.
And I want to piggyback off that. For me, I feel like this game is about understanding when you're wrong. Because, like, you see all throughout the game, especially after you kill Nora and make Nora talk, that Ellie is starting to, like, lose herself and even start to, like, kind of, like, falter.
She has a deep psychological.
Yeah, she even starts to, like, question why she's doing it. Where it's like, that is how, especially now with all the craziness going on in the world today, like, that is just people's, like, knee-jerk reaction is to defend what they think is right, regardless of what, like, actually stopping to think about it. And it's like, Ellie does this whole thing, and at the start of the game, everybody's on her side. You're like, wow, Abby fucked up. She's going to die now because of this. But then we get Abby's story, and we actually start to think and analyze about what Ellie did. And Caleb brought this up to me. It's like, Abby only killed Joel. She got revenge on the one person, but Ellie went through and killed all of Abby's friends just to get revenge on Abby. So, like, there's a point where you got to stop and think about, is what I'm doing justified? And I think that's the overall meaning of the game. It's like, it's making you stop and think, like, yes, this happened, but is my response justified?
Yeah, plus it also, like, sort of shows, like, there's always going to be, you got to look at things from 2 different perspectives. There's your perspective and then another person's perspective, which that's the case with this. You know, the first half of the game, you're seeing only things from Ellie's perspective, which is like, oh, this fucker killed Joel. I'm gonna get her ass now. But then you play as Abby, and you see like why she went after Joel and why it was so brutal. It's because Joel ended up killing her dad and also like fucking over the world and getting a cure. So it really goes to show, like, in any argument or any situation, you can't look at things from just like one way. You got to look from like both perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say mine is that no matter how hard you try, you cannot and will never be able to force things to work out how you want them to. Even stemming back to Joel, he tried to keep it from Ellie, and he was like, well, I can just hide it from her, and it'll be fine. Nope, she found out. Ellie, she'll get to kill Abby and live a happy life with Dina. You didn't kill Abby, and you don't get to be with Dina. Unless you're me. And then you make it that way.
Unless you take my canon ending.
My canon ending.
And then she leaves the farm at the... Yeah.
Yeah, even Abby. Like, killing Joel won't give you closure. It won't make your life perfect.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't force things to be.
Yeah, which I feel like
we're all in a much bigger ocean, and you cannot control the current of it.
Wow,
exactly.
That was deep.
That was deep. I'm getting a tattoo of that.
But yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway from this game, is that despite if you love it, you hate it, like, you can have these deeper conversations about it, and these conversations, like, we could sit here for another probably hour and a half, and we're on 2 hours now. We could sit here for probably another hour and a half, 2 hours, and keep talking about everything and just dissect this game. And like, that's what's gonna keep this game alive for so long, is that we can sit and have these kind of conversations.
Yeah, the fact that, and it's almost like, an exact comparison to how the game plays. Like, you can play the game however you want, take whatever routes, go almost wherever you want, and like encounters and stuff. And that goes true for like the story. You can interpret and feel about it however you want, love it or hate it, read into anything however you want. That's like, even in a somewhat linear game like this, that's the freedom it gives you.
Yeah. Well, boys, anybody have anything else to wrap this up?
Abby's arms.
Swole.
Beefy.
All right, boys. Well, like I said, we're at 2 hours, so I think we're good. So thanks for having the conversation.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, no problem. This was a good time.
It was. I like this. Everybody watching, if you want more Last of Us stuff or just game stuff in general, be sure to subscribe and all that fun stuff. But thanks for watching.